everybody, this is a last minute video I wasn't planning on doing, but I decided at the last minute to do it. So let me follow along on my tablet, see if anybody shows up. It's 12 o'clock in the morning. How is everybody in New York area? It is. Hi Kelly, how are you? Oh, it is? Yeah, I want to go out there. I know you guys are ahead of us because my aunt is over on the West Coast. You're on the West Coast, right, Kelly? My aunt's over there. And she messages me around this time because I think she forgets that it's like 12 in the morning, even though I stay up late anyway. Oh, and Luis and Amy, if you happen to come on this video, your stuff is done. I'm going to send it right now, actually, because I went on this video and then forgot. Wait a minute. I need to send the links. So Justin Bieber, by the way, he fought back against, allegedly fought back against stuff that Eminem does, like trash talking people. We all know he's kind of a jerk, Eminem. Justin Bieber had the guts to say something, allegedly, about him. And I wanted to talk about that, like a reading on that, like what's going on with that. And also, I wanted to talk about like our daily messages, just messages that everybody needs to know. And at the end, I was going to do a short Q&A if you want, because I always say I'll do those and then I don't. Like, I'm a little ADD in case you haven't noticed. So sometimes I get very, very sidetracked. And then I'm just like, whoops, okay, maybe I should remember to say something, especially when I promise it. Oh, and I want to make the announcement. Those cards, guys, I'm sorry about the ticking in the background. That's my timer. Those cards, I have too much stuff to do right now. I'm going to try to do them. One thing I will say, and I don't want to promise it completely, but if you really want them that badly, and I don't have them all printed out yet, like from a printer place, I possibly can make you some myself, but it's only if you really, really want them that much. Like I'd hand make them. Let me just see something. I want to go to the comment section. Hold on. I was just listening to the chant Mahalakshmi. It's M-A-H-A and then space L-A-K-S-H-M-I. She is the goddess of fertility and beauty and prosperity. She's a Hindu goddess. It's a very nice, cheerful chant, and it helps you produce money. So let me just go to the comment section. That ticking is annoying. I'm sorry. Maybe I should go in the other room. All right, let me go to the chat section. There we go. Hi, Cecilia. Hi, Valerie. Hi, Deb. Hi, Nicole. Oh, damn, Nicole, you did a 20-page paper. I remember those. Wow. Cecilia, you have a pretty name. Oh, Kelly, that's so sweet. You would? Well, it might take me a long time to do those because I'll have to do them each one, but I could talk about that with you, and that's something I could do, like a limited number of them. Oh, Deb, cool. You're in Vegas. I want to go to Vegas. I've been down south and up north really far, and I've been over to Europe, of course, a couple times. But I actually have been to Vegas or Cali. I want to go to Portland to see my cousin. I heard Portland's nice. The West Coast is a lot different. I heard like the mentality of everybody out there, like in a good way. I know Vegas is not on the coast, but it's still like west. She went there, so that's how I know. Like she wouldn't make up shit like that. She said that they're crazy there, but I really want to go because the spiritual energy there, oh my God, that's like really, that's more, I think that's more authentic than Salem, to be perfectly honest. Because in Salem, they were called witches. They weren't really like witches. A lot of times they were practicing Christians and people called them witches. I think it only got turned into a spiritual place because it attracts that energy now. But I don't think Salem was ever originally like where real witches were, whereas New Orleans was and is. Savannah too is supposed to be like kind of have that energy as well. Savannah, Georgia. Lake Shasta. Oh, that sounds cool. I like lakes. I like any body of water. I like the ocean the most, but where did I put my cards? Oh, sorry. I have to go get them. Just a second. Sorry, guys. I was doing incantations for people in a reading. I did a couple incantations in a reading. I always do them at night. Like I should get them done in the day, right? But I do them at night because the energy's better, especially for incantations. Like readings, you could probably do in the day, but like for an incantation, I would not do that in the day. So, oh, cool. I was thinking I want to go, like, when I go on another trip, I want to go to the island of Skye in Scotland. It has the fairy pools and it has some cool rock formations and stuff there. It's very magical. That looks awesome. I want to go to, oh, hi, Karen. Thank you. I want to go to the island of Skye badly. Like at first I thought Ireland, but no, Scotland and the islands, because I didn't make it up there when I was in London. It was just too expensive in London, but I can go again. Probably in like four months I'll go. Maybe like towards the end of the summer. So if I plan something, I'll let you guys know, like a trip. And I don't want to say too much about it like I did with the cards. See, I'm so sorry about the thing with the cards, but I just got a lot of stuff right now. And you know I do a per diem counseling thing right now too. So it's a lot. It's good. It's a good thing. Busy is good because it means a lot of people resonate and want it on the channel and want to get readings and want to get spells and life coaching and stuff like that. And I do the per diem job, which that's a good thing to be busy, but I just don't want to put too much on my plate. I'm also still writing the book. Every day I put on more pages onto the book. So I don't want to put too many things on my plate. But just to tell you, towards the end of the summer, I think I'll probably do another trip, if not in the fall, where the weather is still nice enough to go over there. Eccentricity. I went on the trip that I filmed in London was by myself. I've gone on trips where I met friends, but I always go, the last couple of trips I've gone by myself. If it's not with a boyfriend, like if I'm single at the time, which I am right now. So my last relationship, like that was a real full relationship, ended the end of September. So well, actually, it wasn't really the end of September. It was like mid-September, towards the beginning of September. So, like, it's been over since a little while. So, I've basically been just dating since then. And so, I haven't gone on any trips with, like, a guy. But, like, if I go on trips when I'm single to make it in the country that I know, but I go alone. So, I'll see a friend there. I won't be all alone all the time. But for a lot of the things I do, I will be alone, you know. Yeah. Sorry about the dinging. I could let you guys know when kind of out of it, because I just did a bunch of incantations, and sometimes I get like kind of out of it after that because it drains me a little bit. Um, oh, Valerie, I understand. Well, there's a lot of places in the States to travel to. A lot of, well, some people travel and they also spend a lot on other things. They're that fortunate, and that's great. Abundance is very positive. If they're that fortunate to afford a lot of other expensive things and travel, there's some people who are that lucky. But then there are other people like me. What I do is how I'm able to travel is I live very, very simply. And I also don't have children, so that helps too. But the reason why I'm able to afford traveling, and you can afford it, I'm not going to say to those people who are like a single mother or something, because I don't know how that is. I'm not going to assume, and I don't want to say anything about that. But like, if you're single, you don't have anybody to take care of it yourself, there are ways to travel still. You just have to make sacrifices in other parts of your life. So, you know, you don't eat out as much. You live in a simpler place. You know what I mean? You don't do as many things that you would spend extra money on. Oh, I'm sorry, Marlene. I have family from South Carolina, but most of my family is, and people can be like that degree. They could be kind of, depends where you go, but yeah, some people, depending on the area, can be racist down there. You're right. Most of my family is up in the north, though, in Mass and Connecticut, the majority of them, and there's a few out in New York. They're not all, I mean, down south, not everybody's like that. You know, like I said, I have family down there, but there are some people I saw when I was a kid that acted like that, like at the grocery store a couple times. I don't want to go into that. It was like negative, but yeah, I did, to say what you were saying, I did see it. So let's see. What did Justin Bieber decide to just start talking about Eminem all of a sudden? Because he said like Eminem shouldn't, allegedly he said Eminem shouldn't trash talk rappers. Like, why did he come out and say that all of a sudden? Does he want to be in the limelight again? Well, I think because Justin, okay, this is funny. I don't know if you guys care about Justin Bieber on this channel. I really don't that much, but I find the whole Selena, Justin, Haley thing, I know that they're like in their late 20s or mid 20s, that whole thing like funny. He felt like he was just saying what was on everybody's mind. Honesty, for years, people have always felt like Eminem's been kind of like a jerk. He felt like, let's bring understanding to this. I have the confidence to do this because I have the strength, right? I'm more relevant in the industry than he is. I think that's where that was coming from. Like, hey, look, you bully. I may be, you know, the teen heartthrob, once a teen heartthrob, Justin Bieber, who's a Pisces, you know, very feminine energy, and you're this big bully, but I'm more relevant than you old has-been. Why are you still bullying people? I think that that's kind of what it was. Oh, I'm sorry, Anne. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you feel better, Anne. Hi, David. I've known a lot of Davids in my life, actually. People in my family and people I've known, like coworkers and like just a lot of Davids. Family, friends. Hi, Shirley. How are you? It's nice to see familiar faces here and some new people. Hi, Nebris. I don't know if I'm saying your name right, and I'm sorry if I'm not. Okay, so what was the title again of the video? So, okay, so I'm going to do the royals too. Let's do a quick update on the royals. How is Queen Elizabeth holding up right now? She's a Taurus, and the baby will be a Taurus. She's looking at the conclusion. Oh boy. And these are spot on right now. Wow. Wow. She is looking at the conclusion of her reign. I mean, she is getting old. She's preparing for that. They live a long time, but still, she's preparing for it. Letting go was the next one that came out. Cycles, passing on to the next person. She's really preparing Charles and William a lot. A lot of behind the scenes stuff is going on right now. Rigidity, maybe it's like out with the old and with the new, or some kind of new things are going to change with Charles, like this overcoming the rigidity before. Because Tauruses, while they're very, Tauruses are very, they're good workers. They're stealth. They're not, I wouldn't say stealthy. That's more sly. They're sturdy. They're strong. You know, like Taurus men are like very alpha, and the females are very feminine. But the thing that they all have in common is like an oak. I think of like an oak tree. That's why I made the 4th card on my version of the major arcana. Let me show you, because this is why I made it an oak tree. Number 4 is April. That's Taurus, right? The 4th card, the Emperor card, that's Taurus. I made that the oak tree for a reason, because to me that represents like a man who's like a masculine energy that's solid and sturdy and rooted to the earth, and like, you know, that's the energy as well of Elizabeth. See, this is why I made this card look like this. Number 4, the Emperor, is the tree. Taurus energy is all about rooting, sturdiness, and at the negative, they can be a bit rigid. So Elizabeth got this, rigid. And she's not this man in the card, but this is archetypal. It's not meant to be taken literally. So in many ways, she was the warrior archetype. Remember the video I talked about with archetypes? That's what she represented. She was also a herald for change in a way as well. So she was a warrior for tradition and a big supporter of following the traditions. But at the same time, she was a trailblazer archetype and a herald of new things. She televised the coronation. That was a big deal. You know, she a lot of things changed the entire time she was queen. The only other person who probably had such a, I would say Victoria too had a very trailblazing, standout reign. But I would say the one that did the most was Elizabeth I. So it's the 2 Elizabeths, and I'm seeing a pattern here that it's this trailblazing herald of a new age type of mark that she wanted to leave, right? And in many ways, she was rigid to what she believed in, and she held firm to that, and that was good overall for the image of the monarchy. But it was bad in ways for people like Diana, right? She's passing on from one cycle to the next. She's letting go and moving on to the conclusion so that Charles can take over, right? The Queen allowed cameras in her home in the 60s. Yeah, Deb, that is true. They had that documentary. That was really revolutionary as well. I don't know. I've been studying a lot more about the 2 Elizabeths lately, especially Elizabeth I and Elizabeth II, particularly because of how I was saying the thing with, I know she's a fictitious character, but from Game of Thrones, Sansa. And I was making a connection, and I just realized I'm not the first one who made the connection. Sansa is like Elizabeth I. So her character on Game of Thrones, if any of you guys watch that, I'm like a big nerd for fantasy shows in general. I'm like such an Aquarius moon. I love fantasy, the fantasy genre or the adventure genre of movies. That's my favorite besides biopics, which is the Virgo side, the biopics probably. But Sansa, I think on Game of Thrones, the redhead, she kind of represents Elizabeth I. And in a funny way, I feel like it's allegorically kind of like tying together with what's going on right now, like in an archetypal collective consciousness sense. Like whether or not she ends up being like the winner at the end of the Game of Thrones, I'm almost positive, like intuitively, she's going to have a big role at the end than she does now, a bigger role than she does now. And I think somehow archetypally and collective unconsciously, that's like tying into the greater atmosphere with how we have an Elizabeth right now as a queen, and how there was an Elizabeth I, and all of these people, like they stood out, right? And they represent this archetype of somebody who, it's like a woman who has that energy to withstand like great pressure and great trials, etc. I just think it's interesting because when we have things, that's why they call it collective unconscious, because it's not like in the forefront of your mind. It's like things that you don't consciously always think of. They're all connecting to each other. Elizabeth I and Elizabeth II, they probably do. I was thinking that too, like some kind of karmic family connection, like not even blood, not blood necessarily, but like a soul family, like they have a karmic connection. They're in the same soul group. All right, so let me just do some messages about Harry and William. Are they getting along better now? Because it said that they made up in the media. They're trying to listen to each other's sides on things and progress forward. That's good. Their relationship was fragmented and somebody felt trapped, but they're starting anew. Yeah, this is about listening and honesty. Honesty at the bottom of the deck, listening. They're starting anew, fledgling. It's like a bird gaining its wings, or, you know, like a baby animal learning to walk. So they're repairing and they're starting anew because it felt fragmented and somebody felt trapped. So they're moving forward. They're progressing forward, summoning a new, turning over a new leaf, summoning anew. So they did patch things up according to the cards. Marlene, I did a reading on that, on the affair. There's a video about that, about the alleged accused affair. I'm going to correct myself. Alleged. So somebody in the family is feeling like they have to remind themselves of something in the past because one door closed and they can't open it ever again. So they're going to like lick their wounds or rest somewhere. Grove is about like repairing the wounds, repairing the hurt from before. Through the chaos, they've had to do this. Obedience, making an oath. Who is all of that about? Because I just pulled out cards while thinking of the royal family. So who is all of that about? That's about Elizabeth again. Because when I was talking about, I started off asking about her because I was thinking about her for the past couple of days, because out of all of the royals, because I was thinking about the connection between Sansa, Elizabeth I, and Elizabeth II. Sansa on Game of Thrones, allegorically what she represents, because I think it's a really interesting show because there's a lot of layered meanings to all the characters on the show. And that author, he takes a lot from history and from other books for inspiration. So I do think it's about Elizabeth again, because I was saying how Tauruses are like the tree, and the strength card, the tree came up. Strength card in this is different. It's not like the lion or the Leo like in the tarot deck. This is an oracle deck. This represents like strength and rooting, kind of like that Taurus earth energy that I was saying, because something in the past in this person's life was fragmented. So they took an oath, right? And they're going through cycles. They're going through from one cycle to the next. And teaching the younger ones how to start out. Charles has had a lot of practice though, so maybe this is referring to William or just her connection to her grandchildren. Yeah, people have been trying to listen to one another, listening to other people's sides, listening to the other side of the coin, looking at something from a different angle. There's been conversations that have been taking place lately to resolve conflict that was in the past. Because somebody was starting out and needed to learn their way, fledgling. There was some deception that went on where they felt like maybe they weren't told everything. And they received a message, an intuitive message or a literal message. I think it's talking about Harry and Meghan, those cards, because in the middle, I got to go back to the middle of the deck. The middle of the deck is lust. And I think it's that relationship is a very sexually potent relationship where there's a lot of physical attraction. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, they're preparing. This is a kitten here. It's playful. That's the name of the card. They're preparing for this child. And maybe in a way, I've said this many times before, she felt like she wasn't given the full picture is what I'm getting from the cards. She wasn't given the full picture of what things were like. And she felt like she was still learning. There was a conversation that took place for greater understanding. There was a resolution that took place between the brothers. But anyways, so I'm going to go to pick a message, 1, 2, 3, and then I'll answer questions at the end, and then I'm going to get off of here because it's late. And I just did a bunch of incantations and some readings, so I feel a little tired. So let's see. Concentrate on 1, 2, or 3. 1, 2, or 3. And I will tell you what your messages are. Okay, so if you chose message number 1, you very recently made a promise to yourself, or you're going to be making a promise. So maybe you're going to be marrying somebody, signing a contract at work, or just making an intuitive promise to yourself not to do something again, or to change what type of person you are, or to go on a new direction. These oaths that you make to yourself are very important, not for the other people that you make them in front of, but for your own inner self-confidence and integrity. So when you make a promise about something, especially if it's to yourself, try to keep it. Message number 2. You may be changing on to a new cycle from an old cycle. So there may be some change that's going to happen, whether you like it at first or not in your life, whether it is getting a divorce, breaking up from somebody, losing a job, starting a new job, getting married, entering in a new relationship. Some new cycle is going to occur. Cycles are meaningful in our lives because the cycles that we go through can shape us into the person that we are. They can shape us into somebody who, if we can find the valuable meaning out of that cycle we're going through, somebody who lives from meaning, and because they can place meaning on things in their life, gains a greater understanding of the purpose of their life through those meanings. Message number 3 is love. This card is not negative, but it has a little bit of a different twist on it. So she's holding a stone heart here. and she's cautious, and it's cracked a little bit. So to me, this card, without reading the book, just tells me about somebody who's maybe been hurt and is reluctant to share love or reluctant to open to love again. But she's still kind of like waiting for that. She's waiting to give her heart to somebody, but she's a little cautious. So I think this card is just saying it's okay to be cautious. It's okay to wait for a person worthy of your love. But don't be too cautious where you might not notice the right person for you or a good person for you because you're too afraid of getting hurt. Those cracks and scars in the heart can sometimes shape us into a person who knows what's really right for them and what's not right for them. And through those trials and tribulations, then they can really truly understand what type of person would work for them in their life. So okay, so if you guys have any questions, you can ask them now. I'm not going to do any more readings, though, about anybody. But if you have questions, you can ask. I can't tell you eccentricity if the baby's here without doing cards. I think it is. Karma, Cecilia, this is how I think it works. I don't think it always gets people back in the exact way of what like they did. So like if somebody cheated on somebody, it's not necessarily going to have them get cheated on if they don't care about people cheating on them. It might get them in their money. So for instance, I saw somebody who double-crossed and cheated people and lied to them years ago, and they ended up homeless. So it got them in their money and their living situation. They didn't get lied to and stolen from and cheated on. They lost their home because they were nasty to people for so many years. That's an example of karma. Another example of karma is somebody like all their life, they use people for what they can get for them, or they're like, you know, bamboozling people out of their money. And then, you know, they think they escaped karma, and then into their old age, they make a bad investment and they lose it all. That's an example of karma of something you actually do coming back to you in the same form, but sometimes it happens in like a different form. Like, you know, like I said in the previous example, maybe somebody who is dishonest in romantic relationships and then they get karma back in money. So it doesn't always, I don't think it always translates in the exact same way somebody did it, because if there, a lot of people who are the types, especially people who are narcissistic, who cheat on people a lot or things like that, or sociopathic tendencies tend to do that. They don't really care if they're cheated on. So like, especially like a true sociopath, they don't care. Like a narcissist might, because it'll hurt their self-image, because narcissists, the whole thing they're concerned about is looking good or looking a certain way. Whereas with sociopaths, they just really like to mess with people because it's enjoyable to them. That's the difference. They're a lot worse. So a sociopath wouldn't get karma by having people cheat on them. I'm just giving the example of cheating. Like if they cheat on everybody, they wouldn't necessarily get karma by being cheated on, because they would just laugh at it like, oh, that's funny. They don't really have remorse or empathy. But they might get it by, like, if they like material things, losing all their material things, something like that. The difference between a narcissist and a sociopath is that the narcissist does things because they, I should probably start doing videos on this, but then I might have to make a separate channel of all about psychological stuff. But the narcissist does things for gain and for building themselves up to make themselves look like a better person than others. They really need to feel special. Sociopath does not give a damn about feeling special. And if they do act like that's what they want, they're putting on a mask for you just to make you think that there's a reason for it. 9 chances out of 10, the reason why a sociopath does something is because they just like to mess with people. It's really that simple. There's like an element of them that's a little sadistic. which is why if they are dangerous, they're usually more dangerous than a narcissist. Narcissists are fairly easy to manipulate. If you know somebody is a narcissist, it's really easy to manipulate them. And I hate to say this, I've been guilty of this before because I could tell somebody was narcissistic and I didn't have a choice about being around them because they were a coworker. And I flattered them all the time just to get them off of my back because that's the easiest way to deal with a narcissist. Flatter them. Flattery will get you everywhere with a narcissist. But a sociopath is a lot more dangerous because that won't do shit for them. They don't care. And just as easily as they could pretend that it will, they'll be scheming about you behind your back while they pretend that your flattery is getting you somewhere, right? And they'll double cross you in 2 seconds. And just because it was fun. Or just because they want to break a rule that you set out just for the purpose of breaking it. That's how a sociopath is. A narcissist, on the other hand, every boundary they push is for the purpose of building themselves up. So once you know that about them, it's easier to deal with them than a sociopath, actually, even though both are toxic. Sociopaths are much, 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 much worse. On the other hand, though, I think, and I've said this before, borderlines are very misunderstood. And I think it's like really unfair that they put them in the same like cluster as a sociopath and a narcissist. People use the term borderline very incorrectly. Borderline is not like a narcissist at all. They're almost like an inverted narcissist, actually. So a narcissist thinks they're so great and so wonderful, and they try to project that to everybody. Borderlines, a lot of times, loathe themselves. There's like an extreme self-loathing with them, where they do cutting, they take pills, they do risky behavior like having unprotected sex with multiple partners to numb the pain that they feel inside. And the ugly side of them that people see and complain about tends to be like the volatile screaming and throwing things and sometimes physical abuse that they do. Not all of them do this, but some of them do because they have an inability to completely regulate their emotions because of trauma they've been through when they were younger. Usually it's when they're younger. Sometimes people can be assaulted or something can happen when they're adults that will manifest into borderline. But generally it's in their childhood. They were like molested, abused, something like that, abandoned, something traumatic. And so then they grow up to have a inability to properly regulate their emotions. And it comes from a deep and they're very aware of their pain, a very deep-seated, highly sensitive pain that they have inside. And they're terrified of people leaving them. And so they will like do crazy, I don't like using the word crazy, but they'll do crazy things like, freak out and scream at somebody, cling on to them, yell at them that they hate them, and then say, don't leave me. There's actually a book called I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. It's about borderline personality disorder. It's basically like, and I've said this before, it's like a highly sensitive person who is put into bad circumstances that creates borderline. So I'm a highly sensitive person, but I'm not borderline because I thank God wasn't traumatized to the point where I'd become borderline. But somebody who's highly sensitive and then is put in unsavory conditions then becomes borderline sometimes. So that's what that is. But highly sensitives can also have emotion switches and, have their emotions a little up and down, but it's not to the extreme of borderline. That's why I said, like, borderline is basically a very dysfunctional, highly sensitive person. Not everybody is highly sensitive, though, either. Highly sensitives, I think, are about 20% of the population. So that's the difference. And why it's linked in with sociopathy and narcissism. Sociopathy is called antisocial personality disorder. Why it's linked in with those, I have no idea. And I think it's messed up that they do that. I know I'm not a psychiatrist. I have a master's, but it's still messed up. And that's my opinion. And I'm not ever going to change that opinion because I know enough about them to think it's unfair. And I counseled a lot of borderlines, actually quite a lot, to know there's a big difference. And I had a few narcissistic clients and then 2 who were outright diagnosed antisocial personality disorders, and they're not anything like borderlines. So Angel, I did one on Marilyn Monroe. I've done a couple readings on Marilyn Monroe, actually, because she passed away. That I do, for people who passed away, I do special readings, like special preparatory readings for people who passed away, because it's like channeling a little bit. It's a little different than just tarot reading. I have one that I did on Halloween, actually. It was very, That one, I really felt like she was there. That was an interesting reading. It's probably because I share the same moon sign as Diana and Marilyn. If you're a woman and you have an Aquarius moon, you might, and you do like card reading and stuff like that, you might resonate with those two because they have an Aquarius moon. Brittany does as well. Any woman actually that you're trying to channel, that you read on as another woman, if she has the same moon sign as you, you'll resonate probably spiritually more with her. So, oh, thanks, Kelly. That's nice of you. Valerie, I think the line dividing a sociopath and a psychopath is fairly thin. I mean, I think there's overall the same end result to their behavior sometimes, but one is just slightly more dangerous than the other because the other one, you can have a leg up on them if you can figure out that they are a narcissist. They're like, narcissists are basically like, if they're not the dangerous type, like if they're just the type that's an emotional manipulator and they're not physically dangerous, which most narcissists and sociopaths don't physically hurt people. If they're the type that doesn't physically hurt and they like to play mind games, like which is the majority of them, once you can figure out that they're a narcissist, they're much easier to deal with than a sociopath, because a narcissist, like I was saying, is basically somebody who didn't grow past the narcissism stage of childhood, basically. All children to a certain age are highly narcissistic, actually. Me, I want this. You know, they throw temper tantrums. They demand things at the store. They need all the attention. A lot of times in the toddler age, I don't have children, but I have nieces, and I saw it with two. The third one is too young to see it with yet, but the two older ones, I saw the same stage with them. It's a narcissistic stage we all go through as children, but narcissists don't grow out of it. That's a narcissist. So if you know how children act emotionally when they're, toddlers or young little kids, and they throw temper tantrums and they need all the attention on them, that's a narcissist. So once you figure that out, they're easy to deal with. Whereas a sociopath, it's almost like a demonic void of caring about people at all and liking to hurt them. Whether hurt means physically or hurt means I just like to mess with people's minds because that's funny to me. That's more sociopathic. Or I like to cause problems with people because I have to find something to do in the day. That's like something they would do. And some people with antisocial personality disorder had conduct disorder as children. Now, sometimes conduct disorder, children can grow out of it with the right therapy or spiritual healing, because I believe in that too. But then if they don't, it can manifest into antisocial personality disorder. Angel, a lot of people have forms of narcissism, though. Actually, a lot of people in this, that's what I was trying to say about the video where I mentioned I don't think she's like a monstrous NPD. I think she might have some traits of narcissism, but I don't think she's some narcissistic evil monster. I have a relative that's actually kind of similar to her. She reminds me of her a lot. She's not a nasty person. She's just, once somebody has crossed her or done something to slight her, she'll just freeze them out. That's what she'll do. It doesn't mean forever, but she'll do it for a time. Is she like vicious and plotting and evil? No. She just has the narcissistic traits that make her just devoid of enough feeling to want to discuss the issue with the person and try to resolve it. She'd rather just freeze them out. People with narcissistic tendencies will do that. Is it really outwardly that harmful to the person? I'd argue no, because it's not like a sociopath where they're like plotting to laugh at the person and like mess with them because it's enjoyable. There's something called a malignant narcissist where they do get really nasty because they always have to be the best. I don't think Megan is that. Like I said, I think she probably has some tendencies, but a lot of people in this country do, because this is a very self-centered country. The US was built on individualism. It was built on doing things for yourself. So a lot of people in this country have narcissistic tendencies. I really don't think she's unlike that many people or actors or actresses. A lot of actors and actresses are narcissists. Or narcissistic tendency. I don't want to say narcissist because I don't know them. The narcissistic tendency, a lot of them are. I use the example, especially like Madonna, J-Lo. They have narcissistic tendencies too, in my opinion. I mean, I don't think she's really that much unlike them, which is why I don't really like go that far into it. Like, oh, she did this or she did that. Oh my gosh, you know, I do readings on it, but my opinion is like, well, she's an actress. She's a Leo. I'm not surprised, you know? Yeah, Valerie, exactly. I think that people have those traits to make it. Exactly. Because that's a lot of them, that's the whole reason they wanted to do it so bad is look at me, I'm special. Like the little kid, they have to feel special. They're not growing up past that emotional stage. You know how kids act when they're around, like, let's say, like, okay, let's see, like 4 or 5 years old. I'm trying to think of my nieces when they were that age, my oldest nieces. They were like, oh, pay attention to this and look at this, look what I did. Like, you know, but it's cute because it's a kid. But when people are acting like that in their 20s or 30s, people are like, or beyond, people are like, oh my God, because it's not a cute little kid. So, yeah, I think people have those traits to make it to showbiz because that's the whole reason they want the fame because they're still like a big kid. Well, Chucky, yes, kids are confrontational, but there are some kids though that are not. Like they'll pout and they'll ignore you when they're mad. Some kids do that. Most kids though, they will throw like a temper tantrum. But anyways, I mean, all of this stuff that I'm saying, I have to say, yes, I have a master's background in a psychological field, but this is all as a life coach and a tarot reader. I'm not claiming this as fact. And don't go and make decisions because I said all this stuff about the psychological information and all the other stuff I said about readings. It's not fact. I have to say that. Um, so that's basically it. I don't know. There's not really like much else to say. Maybe some people need to take some chances in their life. Risk is at the bottom of the deck. It's looking at me. It's saying to take a chance, risk. This is a message. Well, Sinoble, all of us have some narcissistic traits. It's just how many do you have? And if you recognize them within yourself and understand them, that shows right there that you can't be the person, I'm not saying you, the person who's reflecting cannot really be a narcissist because narcissists cannot self-reflect. They can't self-reflect. They can't sit there and say, oh, maybe I'm narcissistic sometimes. Some narcissists wouldn't do that because they're so involved in their own thing, they won't self-reflect and try to improve. Sociopath, actually, it's really twisted with them. I mean, because I talked to a couple, not that many, but there was like two when I did my first job out of grad school. So I've been out of grad school for almost 5 years now. Not that long, but I had a lot of different jobs in that time because they're all stressful when you're doing it full time. Thank God I don't do it full time anymore. But I mean, I still do it, but not full time. The one that I had, the first job I had, I remember I had a couple antisocial personality disorder guys who were in prison before that I talked to because I did counseling. My first job out of school, by the way, I counseled ex-offenders, not sex offenders, ex-offenders like dealers and stuff like that who were released on parole. And a lot of them were really cool guys. Like they were nice. They get me lunch and stuff and like bring me things. And I couldn't always like accept it. They let us accept lunches where I was, but they wouldn't let us accept like presents and things. They're actually really nice. But but the ones, some of them, there was one, not to say their identity because I'm not saying the clinic, I'm not saying their name or anything like that. I could say general stuff. There was one, he like looked at me and like he was antisocial personality disorder, which is a sociopath. And he looked at me and he said, I know I have these problems. I I just like doing this stuff, you know. I just don't care, and I like to break the rules, and I like to do, you know, and I don't like to listen to people, and I just like to do this stuff. You know, sometimes I'll say things because I feel like that's the thing the person wants to hear. Like sociopaths, the difference between them and what I'm trying to say, a narcissist, is that the sociopath, they can pretend to self-reflect. Like that's why they're worse. Like he wasn't dangerous homicidally or anything. Like when I say dangerous, I don't mean all of them are going to like rape and murder or something. Like some of them, it's like they're dangerous manipulative. That's the kind he was. It was more like a manipulator. And so I would notice he'd compliment me and like say things, and like, but he was always doing it for some kind of gain, right? You could tell. Maybe somebody off the street wouldn't be able to, but if you're working in the psychological field, you can tell. And not everybody, but I could. And they will try to say things to gain whatever they can from you or to gain favor. And he was like messing with his toxicologies, which he was trying to distract me from what he was doing on when I would read the charts, by compliment that they know what they're doing, and self-reflect to the point that they understand that they're sociopathic, and they'll admit it. But it's not, but the difference is that they don't admit it because they feel like it's wrong. They just say it because they don't care. Thanks, Stephen. You're nice. Good night, Shirley. Or did you say you were going to sleep? Somebody said they were going to sleep. Am I confusing the names? I know Shirley, but I think I looked at her name and then jumped up on a comment that said they were going to sleep. But anyways, that's the difference between them. I talked about this before on the channel. Okay, Shirley, you have a good night. Good, I'm glad. Thanks, Karen. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to go about doing that. I might make another channel on psychological terms and stuff and discussions, because I'm mixing the discussions right now, which you're not supposed to mix the two fields together. But since I'm not servicing anybody as a therapist on this channel, I don't think, I'm just talking about it. Because like I have to keep reiterating, if I do a session for you, it's tarot, life coaching, or astrology. It is, or incantations or something like that, fun. It's not as a therapist. Yes, I have a master's, but this is just stuff I'm talking about. And as far as Naomi Tarot goes, a life coach. I hate that I have to. If you're dealing with a narcissist, before I get off this video, you can deal, as long as they're not, as long as the narcissist or sociopath isn't physically dangerous. The narcissist, you can deal with them actually by complimenting them and catching them off guard by praising them all the time. That's an easy way to one-up a narcissist. If you're dealing with a sociopath, I would just stay away from them, regardless if they're physically or emotionally damaging. They're dangerous people. I would just stay away from them, or try to interact as little as possible. Just, oh, that's nice. I started learning tarot when I was 24. And it's been a while, so yeah. You can add the number that's on my website of how many years I've been doing it to 24. So, I hope you guys have a good night. And again, I'm sorry that I'm not going to have all those cards right away. I do still want to do them. I have the deck all created, so I just have to get them printed at some point. I'm not going to do it right now. I don't want to tell any of you when it's going to be done exactly, because I'd rather have them all printed and then say that I can give them with readings. The 2 people who already asked me in emails that I said I have to wait till whenever I do it later, I'll remember you. I have everybody's email saved, so I'll remember you. But anytime soon, I'm going to say no, I'm not printing it out anytime soon just because I have a lot of stuff to do now. I will at some point in the future, though, and then I'll let you guys know on the channel when I print them out. Um, oh, that's good, Nicole. Yeah, you can start doing readings for yourself, and then you can do them on your friends and your family, and then you can start doing them more and more till you do them for other people you don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna go now. I'm getting very tired. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I stay up late anyway, but I need to go to bed. So, and you're funny. Yeah, I know I sound like a broken record. I just always am trying to make sure I cover myself. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for all your support. I appreciate you. If you would like your own reading, you can go to naomitarot.com. It's really easy to remember. It's just the name of my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe because it helps my channel. It helps get me more exposure, the more people who are subscribed. And if you just like to watch my free videos, that's fine. If you want to get a reading or make a donation, go to the website. It has buttons for that on there. You can also click below my other videos. And that's it. And I am not offering the $90 special anymore because it's after May 2nd. However, I am now offering incantations and spells on the website for $35 per spell. And I'm also offering life coaching sessions, which is just like a talk and an exchange and asking you questions and trying to figure out what you want to accomplish in your life and what I could help you with. So those are the 2 things that I am offering that are new now, in addition to the tarot readings, just so you know. So thank you so much. And I hope you guys have a good night. And I hope that everybody will take informed risks and chances in their life. Maybe do something that you didn't think you were going to do before and take a chance. All right. Good night.